Thank you, and it's indeed a pleasure to be with you this morning, and we thank you. We thank you for the decision that you have made at a very young age to serve our great country in uniform. It's an important decision, it's a critical decision, and it's a decision that'll probably be one of the most important that you'll ever make in your life. And we need you. We not only need you for the skills that you bring, but for the leadership that's inside you. Because we always have plenty of infantrymen and pilots or public affairs officers like I was and my wife was. We'll never have a glut of leadership. It will always take that. So thank you for what you're doing. In the essence of time, I'm going to introduce our Medal of Honor recipients, but I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about what they did. You can see their stories online at themedalofhonor.com, and I encourage you to check that out. But I will say one thing about all three of the gentlemen that are sitting before you, that they no doubt felt fear in combat. But they chose courage when we absolutely needed them to do that and save the lives of hundreds of American soldiers. A little bit about the Medal of Honor before I introduce them. The Medal of Honor was first signed into law by President Lincoln in 1861.
It's all right, Mike. We're getting our time in now.
It's all right. Bruce, you actually have never sounded better. The Medal of Honor was signed into law in 1861 by President Lincoln. The first medal was presented in 1862. Since then, 43 million Americans, 43 million people have served in the military. Men and women have served in the military since that first medal was presented. And only 3,496 people have received the Medal of Honor. Today, there are 76 living recipients of the medal, and we are blessed to have 3 of them here today to be able to speak with you. And I'll start with the introductions. My far left is Fired Sergeant First Class Melvin Morris, one of the original Green Berets. So Melvin, thank you. And he's here today with his lovely wife, Mary, who's in the front row. Thank you, Mary. Next to Melvin is Colonel Retired Bruce Crandall, Army helicopter pilot and engineer. And of course, to my immediate left, Sergeant Brian Pitts. Gentlemen, I have several questions, and we can just talk about, and they're all for everyone, so please, jump in at any point. But after you received your medal, you could have gone back home and just lived out your life in relative obscurity, but you have made a commitment to perpetuate the legacy of the medal and its values: courage and sacrifice, commitment and integrity, citizenship and patriotism. Why is that important to you? Melvin, we'll start with you.
That's fine. It's very important to me. First off, you don't win the Medal of Honor. It's a recognition. And really, you can't put yourself in a situation to get the Medal of Honor. If you do, there's something awfully wrong. So it's one award that takes quite a few witnesses, takes a lot of scrutiny, a lot of detailed investigation before you receive an award. But personally, for me, I'm very, very proud to be a recipient of the Medal of Honor. I was a Green Beret on and off in my military career for 18 years. And I've been in numerous combats. But I never thought of receiving the Medal of Honor, or earning it, or however you want to put it, being recognized for it. But since I do have it now, I feel like it's part of me to go out and reach out to all the young cadets, midshipmen, aviators, the young school children. I'm very passionate about that. Our country is the strongest military in the world. It's not broken. But it will be broken if we don't continue to have people like you, young men and women that are going to be officers in the future. You are tomorrow's leaders. What I always tell everybody, I say, my hat's off to you, because once you swear in the oath, once you put your boots on, once your boots on the ground, it doesn't matter what field you're in. You're a hero for us, I'm concerned, because you took that step to honor your country and do your part. And to me, that's very important. And I do the best I can to live up to the standard of the Medal of Honor, which is very, very high. And I feel obligated that I should go out and share my military history, and I live the Medal of Honor every day, because that's part of our heritage, and that's where recognizing our military for their achievements. I mean, I can't explain the overwhelming feeling I have just with this around my neck. And that means that I have to do the best I can to honor that tradition, honor the Medal of Honor. And as the old record says, I'm proud to be American and proud to have served in the military. And I want to thank you. I can't say any more.
Here we go. I think those values transcend the individual recipient. They're embodied by everyone that's ever worn the uniform, wears it currently, and is ever going to wear the uniform. And in most cases with the Medal of Honor being awarded, usually either the recipient's been killed or other people have been killed on that day. And they embody those values more than anyone else. And we're here and we're able to tell the story, and I think that's what that responsibility comes back to for me. The day that I was awarded, for which I was awarded, it was a team effort. There were 9 guys that didn't come home that day. Sergio Abad, Jonathan Ayers, Jason Bogar, Jonathan Brostrom, Israel Garcia, Jason Hovader, Matthew Phillips, Pruitt Rainey, and Gunners Willing. And I'm here because of them. And they embody those values. And I just aspire to hope that I can be half the man that they were. And the responsibility of sharing their story and those values accompany their work. We'll be here all day if we clap after everything.
Well, I'm the oldest one up here, I think. When I received the award, it was in 2007, and it's the greatest honor I've ever had. The award is exemplified by the variance in the people who get it, because there is no common denominator for all of us. You can see he's young and handsome and educated and a pain in the butt. See, for guys like me, it was very late in my life in 2007. My wingman got it in 2001, and Joe Marm received it on the 14th of November when the fighting took place. There were 301 people killed that week in the Cav, and today we don't do that. We understand that you have to keep your men alive if you're a commander. That's one of your responsibilities. I am a real advocate of service. The problem we have is coming up is that we're going to face again the demand to have the draft. And the draft was the worst thing that ever happened to the military, because a local judge could tell a young man who was robbing gas stations and doing other nice things in his community that he had a choice of going to the Army or go to jail. And we took them. All we did was change where they went to jail. We had the largest stockades we've ever had. So if you hear a congressman talking about the draft, get a different congressman. Because we should never do that again. People that wear this award have one thing in common. They understand that they did what they were supposed to do, and it was a thing that we were trained to do. We would expect anyone who was in our position to respond in a like manner. Having said that, I'll never jump on a hand grenade. I talked to young men that have survived that or have thrown a hand grenade away. Leroy Petrie lost his right hand throwing a hand grenade away from a group of wounded. He said he'd do it all over again, but he'd throw it left-handed. And that's the young that we have. We're real proud of the 12 young people we've got out of Afghanistan that wear the medal, because they feel the same way about it as we do. That goes right down from all of us. So we know that this is for everyone. It's not for us. And we know that when we wear it, we have to our conduct has to reflect the pride in that. I have a good conduct medal I wear under my collar to remind me that's a hell of a lot harder to explain than the Medal of Honor for me. So we have to, if you meet Medal of Honor recipients, you'll find that every one of them feels the same way. This is for everyone who was in my unit and everyone that has ever been on the battlefield. We got recognized, but that doesn't mean that we were the only ones doing the things that had to be done. So when you see a Medal of Honor recipient, you'll know that he's been changed. We've had only one woman, and we will have more. The women helicopter pilots in the Army today are embarrassingly better than what I was. That's not saying much. Anyhow, I want to thank you all for going through the program, and you that are in the ROTC or in the service academies. That's the finest education that you ever get, particularly if you go to West Point and beat Navy. Thank you.
I want to make one comment. Go ahead. One comment that's important, and it always stays with me, and it rings in my head. For there's no greater love for your country than that you should give your life for this country. So you think about it. I mean, you're sitting out there, and some of you will do that, will give your lives for your country. And that is the biggest honor ever, when you're willing to sacrifice your life for your country. And that sticks with me. And if I had to give mine, I'd give it right away. Because I do believe in what we have, the greatest country in the world.
Thank you. Thank you. My next question is, in the realization that we have a room full of ROTC cadets here who will no doubtly serve in the military very soon, what are your expectations for these cadets as future leaders in the military and for our country? Your expectations for them.
You know, I expect you to live up to what you want. You want to be an officer, and I expect you to live up to that. Cut off that phone. You know, I've been talking to a lot of cadets. When you start out, remember one thing. I'm an enlisted man and 23 years of service. So I get a young lieutenant and a young officer. He should get to me as quick as he can because I have experience, and he's starting to learn. You graduate, you get pin in your rank, but you don't know anything. But guess what? That old gunny, that chief master sergeant, the sergeant first class, or team sergeant, or the first sergeant, they got all the knowledge, and they will share it with you. And one other fact, I'm an infantryman. I've always went to infantry, and I'm always infantry. And one thing I did learn in the infantry, and they taught us this, to be a squad leader, you got to be able to gain the respect, the loyalty, and the willing obedience of your men. If you can't gain those, you can't lead. You're leaders. You're leaders. And you're at the level where you have to work the hardest. And I will say one thing to you. You can be hard, but be fair. Now, never let your anger or your temper ruin somebody's career because you can't deal with the situation. And this is when you go to your senior enlisted. Remember that. If you deal with your senior enlisted, you'll go a long ways. After you get the rank back to colonel here, you pretty well got your feet on the side of the ground. And I guarantee you, if you ask him, I think he's even went to senior enlisted while he was a colonel. You see? So use all your tools, and you'll be successful. And if you do the right thing, I will follow you. Okay?
I think for me, it's two basic principles that when I look back guided me through my short career, shorter than these two gentlemen, but was first is just always placing the mission first, never forgetting that that's why you're there. That's why you wear the uniform, to go and fight and win our nation's wars. And that's the number one priority, and that's all encompassing, everything that's including that, whether that's training, whether that's taking action on the battlefield, whether that's whatever it is, and appreciating what your mission is. Looking back on my career, I was always with an infantry unit, airborne infantry unit, and we had the arrogance of the airborne infantry unit that it was kind of, if you're not airborne infantry, you're nothing. And that was really wrong. I mean, that's, at the time, right, you never go in thinking, hey, you're second best, or we're good enough. You think you're the best. But when I look back on it now, is that every job is important. From the people turning the wrenches on the medevac helicopters, because those birds don't fly if they're not working. And the people that put the fuel in there, and I'll tell you some of my favorite people, cooks, medics.
Exactly.
Every job is important. So think about the role you play in that mission and how important it is. It's easy to get lost in it and feel like you're just a cog in this big war machine. But what you do is important. There are other people counting on you, not just the people in uniform, but over 300 million Americans back here that are expecting you to do your job every day. The other thing is that's first, mission first always. The second is always put those around you, those you serve with, before yourself. If you do that, they'll be there for you. I saw that with my friends, the guys I served with so many times. It inspired us to do the things that we did. I think back on some of the leaders that we had. One of them was Lieutenant John Brostrom. And we would have followed this guy to the end of the earth on a one-way trip because we always knew that he was looking out for us. He didn't care about his career. He didn't care about looking good. He cared about accomplishing the mission and doing everything within his power to take care of us. Now, you got to be realistic and understand that sometimes those two things are going to seem at odds. Putting the mission first, sometimes the mission, it is going to risk people's lives. But that's the mission. You got to do everything within your power to try and bring those people home. And John Brostrom, he embodied that. He risked his life to save mine and a bunch of other men, and he gave his life for us. And he's still an inspiration for me of what it means to be a leader, to embody those two principles.
John, stop every time. I gotta know when you quit.
I'm looking at you.
Okay. my thing for all of you is a little bit like Melvin's with you lead from the front. We had commanders that would fly the helicopter up above and tell the guys down below what to do. You should be in that lead aircraft and you don't have to transmit. And you should be leading your troops the same way. If you're not physically fit, get that way. Because you're going to be embarrassing yourself when you get some NCO that likes to run as your first sergeant or your... My first sergeant, I was the only officer in the company. I had 300 men in the headquarters company of the 4th Engineer Battalion, and I was an aviator. And in those days, helicopter pilots were considered a pain because they got paid and they were here. And those two things were not compatible for some commanders. But my first sergeant told me we could do this two ways. I could run it, and he'd do the best he could for me, and he was lying. He didn't want me to run it. And the second thing was, I'll run it and you can learn. And I says, I think I like that one. And I survived because of that. And he taught me every day about the standards that we had to have for the unit and for what we had to do. So I tried to emulate what he expected from me. Those of you that are married, you'll understand emulating what they expect from you. My wife always expected things from me, and I tried to do that. I had her for 54 years, so you can really have a good life in the military and still have a family. But we need to concentrate on supporting our families. So if you are a commander, make sure that your families are considered when you're doing the stuff you're doing, because don't overcommit your unit. And that's what happens too often when you have a young officer in a leadership position that doesn't have solid NCOs. So pay attention to your NCOs, pay attention to your wife or your spouse, because that's a little different in today's world. We have the best military we've ever had, and you're going to be part of it. So set your standards accordingly, and listen to your first sergeant. Mine taught me a little bit about screwing up and moving up. And that's a good concept if you can stay out of trouble. I never was able to, but you can see that you never know what's going to come down the road. If you prepare for combat in Afghanistan today, it may not be there. That may not be what you're going to be doing. So pay attention to what happened in the past and what you can, if you can look down in the future. But working in your unit. Don't try to be a big shot up in a battalion when you're in a company. You'll find out that that'll get you in a lot of trouble. But the NCOs are the key to what we do. I came out of the ranks because an NCO told me I was too screwed up. I might make corporal someday, and he didn't want that on his conscience, but I'd make a good second lieutenant. That's enough of that.
Thanks, Bruce. And you did mention families, so let's talk a little bit more about families and how that relates to our military careers, because we all know when the military part is over, we come home to that family who still needs you, still loves you, and still needs you to be that father, husband, wife, brother, sister, whatever. And how important is that? And I know I'm very blessed with my family, and I'd like to introduce my wife, also who's here today, Colonel Retired Marcella Thompson Caldwell. So thanks for all your support during For these young people who are about to enter the military, how important was your family and your careers, and what lessons did you learn that you'd like to, about that you'd like to provide to them about taking care of the family while you're in the military?
Well, our family is out drive. And a lot of you sitting up there, right now you may not be thinking about it, but you will be married, you will have families. And that's what's great about the United States. We can be in the military and we can have families. Families are what we fight for, are what we stand strong for, to protect. I've been married, like Bruce, I've been married for 55 years. My wife was with me when I was a young Green Beret. I'm actually a private first class. She's still here today. It's been some tough times, you got to remember that. But you do whatever you can to make sure your family is on solid footing. And it's devastating on the families when you leave in the middle of the night and don't come back for 6 months. So you always have to stay prepared. You got to remember, families is what we're all made up of. And, you know, when I was platoon sergeant, I looked at my platoon as my family, almost like my immediate family. That's my responsibility. And so you remember that too. That platoon that you will get, or that section, that squad, that's your family. That's your family. And you take care of them, and you treat them fairly. And you gain their trust, and you gain their obedience, and you gain their loyalty. But you know, families is why we have a standing army right now. If we didn't have families, we wouldn't need to be here right now. None of us. And so that's why we got a strong military to protect our families. There's no other reason. There's no other reason.
I knew where I was going. I'm the director. Okay.
Fair enough. When I served, I was single. And so, I only got to see it how through the eyes or really observing those with families around me. And, the families serve right alongside the service members. And I really think that their sacrifices and their burdens are probably greater than our own. Because while I'm in Afghanistan for 12 months, I know what's going on every day. I know what I'm doing. My family's safe back home in America or whatever base they're at. They're worried about what's going on with me. And they don't want to just hear that, hey, no news is good news. If you don't hear from me, you don't hear anything, everything's good. That's not a warm fuzzy. And they're back home taking care of all the issues that we're not having to worry about, whether that's kids or bills or all those things. And so, you really got to have appreciation for all the people behind the people that you lead. Motivate them, support them, push them to do what they do. And I think it's important when you think about, Melvin mentioned it, your unit becomes your family. I'm really closer to a lot of the guys in my unit still than I am to a lot of people in my family. They taught me that family isn't about blood, it's about caring about other people more than you care about yourself. And you got to look at, you're gonna get that family. It's special because you're not born into it, you get to choose it. And you got to look at it's not just those that are going to be under your command that you work with, but their extended family as well. And so I think there's an importance of making sure that not only do you create strong cohesion within the people that you directly lead, but fostering an environment where their families get to build a strong support network. Because when your unit leaves, those families are going to be left behind to have to lean on one another. And that's important, not just when you're in uniform, right, but when you're out of uniform. And it's important also to maintain those bonds of family that you develop in the service, because it is equally as important after you leave. I still lean on my brothers, and they lean on me, and we pick up the phone, and it just seems harder because you're separated by distance. I can't just, let's just roll over because we're all in bunk beds and talk to them on the bunk next to me. I got to pick up the phone and call somebody in Texas or Orlando. And you can feel very isolated, but we are all still there for each other. And so those are some important things to keep in mind when you're leading soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and Coast Guard.
He made one comment there that I'd like to expand on a little bit. Command. Don't use your command position to command. Leadership is not command. Leadership is leading and having, excuse me, people be willing to follow you. And until you develop that, you're not a leader. If you have to use command to get things done, get the hell out. Because you're not going to be effective, and you'll be a pain in the butt to deal with for your superiors and your senior NCOs. And I will tell you that if you start using command as the only way of getting something done, you'll have your senior NCOs kicking your butt all over the place, and you won't even know it. So don't use command to be your key leadership way, because it doesn't work. The first thing when you get married is there's 2 words to learn. Actually 3. Yes, dear, and yes, honey. Because when you walk through that door, you're not the boss. Yep. You got to remember, when you leave to go to downrange, the one that stays in the house is taken over. And my wife's favorite expression to the boys, wait till your daddy gets home. And I'd just gone to Vietnam, because it's going to be a long wait. But it was a joke. It was the standard joke in the family. My wife would tell those 3 boys, you wait till your daddy gets home. And when I got home, I was not a good father. I was not a good husband. I was in the hospital, and I thought she should come and see me every day, and she had to drive 75 miles one way. And finally, one day she came in, and I spent 5 months at Madigan. And she said, Bruce, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but when you were in Vietnam, you weren't a pain in the ass. And right away I figured out I must be doing something wrong. It was the expectation that she should be coming to see me, and she still had the same responsibilities that she had while I was in Vietnam for the family and for all the things that she had to do. And I had become a load for her that I had to learn not to be. And those are the things you learn by having them happen to you. So I hope none of you have to learn those personally. But the family is the most important part of most of our lives. But the military family, you're right. I still got buddies that come up to me. And last year, the 14th of November, we were in Washington, D.C., and my wingman and I flew 14 and a half hours a day. We got the medals. And we rescued 71 people that lived. And they were there, the ones that could be, and their families. And I'll tell you, when I see something awesome, is to know that you had something to do with all those grandkids, and you didn't have to pay for them.
Gentlemen, we have time for one more question, so we'll close with this one. What is the most important lesson that you have learned in your military career that helped you get through your career and then in your life after the military?
I only go by one thing, and it's love what you do and do what you love. If you're going into the military, love it. If you don't love it, you're not going to be too successful. Do what you love what you do, love what you do what you love. That's the only thing. And times will get hard, they will get rough. Sometimes you're going to hate yourself. But just tell yourself, I love what I'm doing. You'll be successful. And I love the military. I've been retired for a long time, but I still feel like I'm in the military. Still feel like it. And so that's why I get out and I work pretty hard, because I love what I'm doing. I love what the military stands for.
Yeah, okay.
Well done.
I think the most valuable lesson, and I've tried to carry in every part of my life, is to look at everything as a team. And to realize that no one does anything on their own. And I don't remember who said it, but it's amazing what you can accomplish. You can accomplish anything if you don't care who gets the credit. And Reagan. Was it Reagan? All right, thank you. So Ronald Reagan said. And but I've carried that everywhere because I think back on, every fight we were ever in, there was never one guy, one person who carried the day. It was everybody doing their jobs, doing little things. It's all the people that never get recognized that win wars and help us work towards these big accomplishments. And I just try to carry it, I bring it into my house. I look at that. I'm a team with my wife. There are no rules. It's just we got things to accomplish, 2 little kids to chase around and try and not burn the house down. And I bring it to work. It's just always trying to be a team player. How can I help accomplish things? There is no, that was something in the military. I was a forward observer in an infantry unit. I was not just a forward observer in an infantry unit. I was whatever that unit needed me to be. Whether that was a Humvee mechanic or a medic on the spot, rifleman, whatever those things were, and always being focused on that. And I've just tried to bring that into every aspect of my life.
How many of you out there are under 25?
Oh, big.
All right. In 20 years, many of you will be retired from the military, or you, in 25 years, depending on what year you are, but you will be under 50, and you will have careers. So when you're in the military, use the education that you can get in the military and the training in the schools and everything. Use them as much as you can, because the more you develop yourself, the better you are as a leader. So get education, get the training that's available, and then use it when you get out. I spent 3 years as city manager in California doing Prop 13. I like combat better. And I went to Public Works in Mesa, Arizona. And I spent 15 years there getting the Apache built there and doing some other things that were important to me and to my community. So you'll be an asset to your unit by getting all the education and doing the things that can make you a better officer, a better leader. And in some cases, you'll probably be NCOs, because in today's Army, they're more important than ever. We had E7s was the top of the rank when I was starting. Now they got 8s and 9s, and they're the finest leaders we've got. They've developed all their skill level, and a second lieutenant stand next to an E8 or 9, a better understanding his intelligence is next to him. And you use your life that way. But prepare for the future. Get as much education as you can, because that makes you a better leader. And I wish you all luck in the world, and I wish I was your age. I'd rather be even younger than you are. But that's not going to happen. So my congratulations to all of you. If any of you ever get into a position where you control helicopters, I'd be glad to be a co-pilot.
All right.
Once we leave the ground, I'll be the pilot.
I want to say one thing before we close up. And you see it everywhere now in the military. You're all brothers and sisters. So leave no man behind or no woman behind. You got to remember that.
Yeah, we don't leave.
You got to remember that. You take care of each other. We don't leave our wounded and our KIA for no enemy. We bring them home. We allow the families to have closure. So do whatever it takes, but don't leave your brother on the battlefield. Never. That's it.
thank you again, and thank you again for your decision to serve our country, and we wish you the best of luck and Godspeed in your careers. And gentlemen, thank you for spending your valuable time with us today. I know all of you are very busy and on the road a lot, but thanks for the example that you are for all of us and for continuing to perpetuate the legacy of the medal and for your service following your military careers as well. So thank you, and thanks for being with us.